Natalie is best known for her kiln-formed glass and mixed media work that examines themes of isolation and belonging. Whether it's exploring the link between autism and social media or the inherent biases through which we all view the world, her work reflects the struggle of social dynamics in the 21st century. Featured in juried exhibits throughout California, her work is currently represented by Sparrow Gallery here in Sacramento. So welcome, Natalie.
Hi.
Thanks for being here tonight.
Thanks.
Were you on the prior call? I mean, on the prior interview?
I did get to watch a little of Kate's interview, and I'm always surprised at how much overlap there is with us. We actually had a show together at Sparrow a few years ago because we had some similar ideas, and it's been a while, and I hadn't heard her talk about her new work, and I'm like, yeah, that's kind of, yeah.
Good. Well, tell us a little bit about your current body of work. Uh-oh, did we lose you?
Maybe we'll give her a minute.
Okay.
See if she comes back.
Oh, she's muted. There you go. Natalie?
Yeah, somehow I lost you there. Can you hear me?
We lost you. We could see you, and then it just was your name. So great. I'm glad.
Oh, okay.
So
I was saying,
tell us a little bit about your current body of work.
okay, so the current body of work for the last 6 months has really been the result of the COVID-19 lockdown. I was working in glass, and I was working in a completely different series, and it was kind of heavy. It was kind of, a little darker, a little more political. Mm-hmm. And when COVID hit, it was just kind of an overwhelm for me. It was just a little too much serious, world reality. So I decided that, well, at first I was just doom scrolling. I don't know if you've done this, where when everything kind of started, I was watching the news a lot and reading the news a lot, and it was probably not very healthy. But I was just trying to see how to keep my family safe and kind of what this whole thing was about.
Trying to stay on top of things and the numbers,
Yeah. But I saw my husband, working from home. My adult daughter came home, and she was working from her childhood bedroom, and I felt like, yeah, I really do need to get back to work and stop thinking about this all the time. And so, but I didn't really have the ability to focus very much on anything, and I was having trouble with that. And so even just reading a novel or something was kind of difficult. So I thought, well, what am I interested in that I can just really sink my teeth into and not think about anything else? And I'd been following an artist on Instagram whose work I really admired. And I had always kind of wondered how he painted the way he did. He creates paintings that are sort of photo-based, but kind of like Kate was saying, he works with images that are very kind of rough and sort of not what the photographer would want, right? So a little bit strange, developing, or blurry, out of focus, kind of not your typical photographic images. And so he was working with those, but in oil paint, and making them look like photographs. They were shiny, they were flat, they just looked amazing to me. And I thought I'd really like to learn how to do that. And I wanted to kind of for a while, but this sort of became the opportunity to try to learn something new. Mm-hmm. So I started studying him and trying to figure out his technique. And I don't know, something that really inspires me is to try to learn how to do something, figure it out. So I was trying to figure it out. I was like being a detective, reading his interviews and watching his little videos. Like, okay, how is he doing this? And I was getting there. I tried some things, and some things were working and some things weren't really working. And then I was on Instagram one day, and I saw he posted that he had done a video of teaching his process.
Oh, wow.
And I thought, yes, I got to see this.
It was meant to be, huh?
to me. So I thought, yay. So it was really good for me because like I said, it made me really focus and really have to work hard on something and be in that different space, be in that different headspace so that I wasn't worried and I wasn't thinking about the news all the time. And so in a way it was a little bit therapeutic. But I did, he didn't show all of his secrets. I had to figure some things out still, but his video was really helpful. And because he didn't show everything, I was able to sort of still figure some things out and create my own way of doing it, so.
How did you come across him? How did you find him?
I think I just found him on Instagram. I'm not really sure exactly how, but I've been following him for a few years. And it was funny because when I started looking into him and researching him, he really loves Gerhard Richter, and that's one of my icons, one of my favorite artists. So I thought, okay, here's the connection, Yeah. And then I started looking at, who else was he looking at? And he was looking at some other living artists who I didn't know anything about. So then I could look at their work and be inspired by them. And so it was a nice sort of rabbit hole to go down. And I was able to learn some new techniques and some new things that will help me.
So are you still using those techniques and still working on it?
I am. So I started with some old photographs, and as I was learning, I progressed to film stills. So how do you find sort of bad photography, right? How do you find these old blurry pictures? And I found in the public domain an old family home movie from the 50s.
Oh, wow.
And so I watched it, and I would pause at different places and take a still or a screenshot of it. And then I went through those and tried to figure out which ones I wanted to work on. And so that's where I started getting my imagery from. And I wasn't really thinking about meaning at all. And I usually really get into concept and what does it mean? And every time I thought about that, I would just push that thought away. It's like, nope, I'm not thinking about meaning. I don't want to think about anything in depth. I just want to learn how to do this. So how do I?
And the process. So you were just you were in the moment and doing that process. Okay.
Yes. So I'm still doing it, but interestingly, what I found out was after doing, I think I painted about 9 of these paintings, is that, and now that I look back and see the progression, I can see that I was making choices, maybe unconsciously or subconsciously, that changed the images that I was pulling out of that pile. And, I kind of honed in on a certain type of image, which was instead of a group of people at a pool party, say, I would start honing in on one person jumping off the diving board, or one person being pushed off the diving board, or somebody falling in, or a child being afraid of going in. And so one individual rather than a group, and I started taking away the context around the figure. So I was only painting the figure with maybe just a hint of where he was or she was. And I started realizing that I was coming up with these images, or at least this one in particular that I just finished recently, that is all darkness with just a figure in space, just jumping. And he looks really joyful, but he doesn't know where he's going. He doesn't know how he's going to land. He doesn't know what comes next. And so to me, that really hit home with, oh, there is meaning in this. I didn't mean to put any meaning in this, but ultimately the choices I made led me to this work that really is feeling very much of this moment, this time, this place where we all kind of feel a little shaky because we don't really know what's going to happen next.
That's what I was just going to say. Listening to you, that's kind of where I am. I'm waiting. You don't know what's next. You're taking one day at a time because we don't know what's going to happen. And so being in the moment, and it's very interesting. Are you able to share maybe one of those with us, or is this not a good time? One of your
actually. So when I spoke to Justina earlier in the week, or maybe it was last week, and she said, have a few things around to show in case. So I did pull a few things off. There's my wall behind me, so I could grab some things.
Okay.
So
I mean, if you're comfortable, Natalie. If you're not, that's okay. But
fine. It's fine. So this piece is one of the earlier ones, and it's very colorful, and there are a few people in it.
Oh, wow.
So you can kind of see that they're a little blurry, and there's a lot of sort of, purposeful mistakes, if you know what I mean. Like paint is used kind of 2 ways. one is, I don't know if you can hear me, one way is that it represents something else, right? So I'm showing you figures and the paint is being used to show you this, create this illusion of space and figures in space. And that's one use of paint, but then another use of paint is just to be the material itself. And so all those blemishes and things that you see are just sort of showing off that it's paint. It's, you know, so I think it looks kind of photographic, but it wasn't exactly what I was going for, but I really, you know, kind of had fun with it. And I really enjoyed making the sort of strange marks that create that marred impression. I don't know how to describe that, but sort of almost like a problem with the developer or something.
Was this one of your early processes, or is this later on as you're going through learning this process?
This is going through learning the process. This was after I got that video that gave me some more information on how to do it. So this is one of my favorites I brought over here too. And it's not a diver, but I think since I brought the colors down a bit,
Oh,
I don't know if you can see that. I think it makes it look a little more photographic in a way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I had so much fun. I can't tell you how much fun I had with a squeegee trying to create this lighter area that's more abstracted.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like an abstract mark. I spent 3 hours
Oh.
with this light blue color trying to figure out how to create that feeling. And when I was done, my hands were just like, it was pretty.
That's fantastic. So they're on a diving board. Are they?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
On the diving board, ready to, in line, ready to go.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. You can kind of see how shiny, right?
Yes. Yeah. The
So-
reflection. Yes.
The trick with that is to start with a really, really smooth support. So, I mean, you know, you're sanding, the person who taught this was using a credit card to, you know, kind of level the surface of the, you know, the gesso.
Yeah.
So it was interesting. I've tried that. I thought that sanding was a little easier and faster, so I go with sanding, but it has to be really smooth.
Well, good. Justina, do you think some of the viewers might have questions for Natalie, or are we?
Yeah, there was just one question. Well, if anyone has a quick question, we have to end in a couple of minutes. Feel free to throw it up in the chat. But there was one, someone asked if you could say the artist's name again that inspired you to create these new paintings.
Oh, I didn't tell you because it's really hard to say. His name is Wendelin Wolgamuth. Don't ask me to spell it. I can find it. If you wanna message me, you know, my website has a contact page. Message me and I'll send it to you.
Wendell, that sounds like a wizard's name.
No, I think he's from Germany, but he lives in Portland now.
Okay.
Young guy.
Great.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Or I don't see.
No more questions in the chat. If we had more time, I would make Natalie tell us more about her glass work. But since we're coming to the end, why don't you just tell us how we can contact you and find more of your work?
Sure. Actually, there's a glass piece back there. I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of far away. The blue back there.
Yeah.
One glass piece up there. You can find me at nataliesakurai.com. Instagram, just Instagram /natsak, GNATSAK. You can see a lot of my stuff there. I post pretty often. Yeah, I guess that's it. I'll be live streaming this weekend. I'm doing something a little different. So I'm not doing all 3 hours. Just, you know, I don't know if you know this yet, but
Oh, that's okay.
I hope it's okay.
Tell us what you're going to do so we know.
Yeah, so at every hour on the hour, I'm going to have a different theme. So basically 3 themes, and it'll be the same both days. So first hour, at 1 o'clock, I'm going to do a tour of the studio. I'm going to show my tools, materials, inspirations, everything that's around the studio for those people who really just like coming to the studio and seeing it. And that'll be maybe 10 or 15, 20 minutes if there are questions. And then I'll take a break. I'll download it on Instagram, so it'll be there if people want to see it for 24 hours. 2 o'clock, I'm going to do all my new work. I'll be talking about the new work behind me and sort of what we kind of just talked about here, but maybe a little more in depth. That'll be maybe 15 minutes or so. If there are questions, maybe longer. And then I'll stop again. And then at 3 o'clock, I'll do a demonstration.
Awesome.
So again, like about 20 minutes.
Yeah, and they do stay on as long as you want them to. They stay on longer than 24 hours.
Oh, okay. I
So
didn't
just so
realize
you
that.
know, so people, if you happen to miss Natalie or anyone's live stream and they save it, you can just find it back on their Instagram.
Okay, cool.
Very
Excellent.
cool.
That's great.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Natalie.
Thank you, Natalie, so much.
Thanks, Denise. Good to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.